Hey guys, today we're going to talk about is competitiveness and fun. Now, a lot of people seem to think that these two concepts can't really be put together, which is kind of odd. You see, we have one camp who's like, well, in order to have fun, you can't be competitive. While the other camp of people is like, hang on a second, this game can't be fun unless it's competitive. It's a bit odd, isn't it? It's a little bit odd. So what we're going to do is we're going to really talk about competitiveness. First of all, what does the first camp of people what are they really talking about? Well, usually the argument is if it's someone's too competitive / in their words usually is also known as tryhard, they would always be using the top tier weapons, right? Okay, so they're going to use some top tier weapons. They're also going to be using some top tier tactics which can't be beat. For example, in this type of game, the Souls game, that could be roll backstab, for example. It's just top tier techniques, right? So you go to top tier weapons, top tier techniques. And something that maybe is extremely spammable, for example. So that's the usual, most common things that you hear people who makes the argument. You can't have fun if all you do is being competitive. They're always saying, oh, stop picking the best weapons, stop picking the best characters, stop using the same, tricks all the time. It's boring, right? So it's all about being bored, right? So what happens if it's a top tier weapon? Well, it means all the other weapons aren't good enough against it. It's not balanced then, right? It's a completely broken system then. If you've got a technique that's completely unbeatable, right? A top tier technique, it's unbeatable, then again, that obviously means that it restricts variety ultimately, isn't it, guys? It's all about restricting variety, originality, expression. Okay, and utmost skill. See a lot of people who play Souls games as, oh, you're very good at that weapon, but are you good with other weapons? Are you actually truly skillful? Good and fair point. Now we move to the second camp of people. This is where it gets interesting. These people say, the game is no good unless it's competitive. Now, is competitive in this sense actually meaning that it has to have a lot of tiers and the top tier just smashes the crap out of everything else? It's going to have techniques that just beats the shit out of everything else? Is that what it is? You've noticed, haven't you? No, it's actually the complete opposite. Because these guys, being very competitive, want a competitive game, which means it needs something that isn't like that. Wait, what does it mean? Well, think about it. A competitive game, okay, a game is considered competitive if it has some form of good balance, you see. It's considered not competitive when it does not have balance. Make sense? Okay, so basically these guys want a game to be competitive, and it's only competitive when the tiers aren't that distinct. Yes, they can have some tiers, good tier, but ultimately they want a game that allows skill to overcome the tiers. That you can pick any character, or 90%, maybe worse, 80 to 70% of characters or weapons, and still be on top. Okay. Same thing with techniques. They actually don't like cheap techniques, but they will try and find that counter as hard as they can. Alright, they'll keep looking for that counter until it's obvious that either this game is just not competitive, that there ain't no freaking counter, or there is a counter. And once they found that counter, it becomes a mind game, and it starts stacking level over level over level of the mind games as to, okay, he's going to counter this obvious technique, this broken technique, with this other technique, which completely trivializes the broken technique. But if he's going to do that, I'm going to do this, And it's like, oh, I know he wants to do this, all right, and he wants to counter it, so I'm not going to do that at all. And then the mind games really starts to flow, and it becomes very fun. Why? For the same reasons as the Mr. Fun Group wants it. It promotes variety, guys. It promotes a lot of variety and skillful variety, and really shows how skillful one can be using different weapons, different techniques, and outthinking the opponent. So in fact, the two camps are actually the same. Just maybe one type is just a bit quick to jump the gun when it comes to it. And then I want to bring into this question is, why have rules sometimes? Okay, because there's this fight club I've just joined recently, and they're about to have a tournament as such. Now they're saying, oh, there's no need, we're just having some fun, right? We're just having some fun, there's no need for rules. They don't seem to understand, some of them don't seem to understand that these rules is to keep the balance in check. So we can have fun, so we can express and not feel using a particular weapon to be too underpowered, or why not choose something that's overpowered? Because we want that balance, because we want our skill to shine through, because we want the variety, because everyone is chasing to win. And you have techniques, for example in Bloodbore, which is just hold back and just keep spamming bullets, for example, okay, 25 times in a row. It gets really boring, first of all, and that's the thing about fun, it kills fun. Okay, some things will kill fun, because in order to win, if what happens with this game, which actually isn't too balanced for competitiveness, which sucks, therefore sometimes you may need to make some rules that can help fix it. But obviously, okay, it's up to if you've played it enough, if you tried hard enough to try to make it work and understand the ins and outs of the game. That's only when you have the right to make that call, I would say. So in my experience, which I've played a lot, doesn't really say much, but I believe I played with one of the best, a group of the best people that ever played no gem fights, and we went through a big series of salt of what's broken and not broken, and we've had arguments for the whole year, had people quitting the game and stuff, but it's there. But what I wanted to say is, ultimately, in order to have fun, you need variety, okay? And you want skill to outshine particular choices and weapons and tiers. And that is actually what also makes a game competitive, is you have that. Is you have, even as broken as technique is, a person that loves being competitive won't like that game if it utmost trumps everything else. They would want it that there are other techniques that can beat it. And if people who've been listening to me from terms of rules, that's where I'm coming from. But anyway, that's a little brief, quick discussion about balance, fun, competitiveness, which I believe is actually can go hand in hand together. Anyway, enjoy. Hopefully I'll see you guys next time, and we may talk more about those rules at another time. Cheers.